like you had a dream that this was based on or something? Like how did this film come about exactly?
Yes, you're right. I had to make my first feature, and I spent a lot of time trying to find something to write about and making a lot of research in the real world and trying to ask myself what would be a good story. And then one night I just had a dream about my own parents, that they moved back to their first apartment where they lived before I was born, which was just a 2-flat apartment in Copenhagen. And in this dream they invited me for dinner. And when I arrived, they were 60 years old in the dream, but they were dressed up as they were like 19. And my father tried to look like a young guy, and my mother had her dress on, which she wore when she was young. And they started to kiss in front of me and dance, and they were listening to like Neil Young, and everything was like in the 60s. And I was waking up. I remember I woke up screaming. This was the most horrifying nightmare, that your parents are kissing in front of you, and I couldn't look at them for a month because I thought that this is wrong, and do they have a sexuality, and are they real people? I just thought they were parents, and this dream was very funny, but also very sad, and I said maybe this would be a great idea for a film that is a little bit surrealistic, a little bit absurd, but still believes in real emotions.
Did you have any like influences in mind? Were you thinking of certain type of films or something you've seen before?
Not in the beginning, but the funny thing was that when I had the chance to do a film, I thought that everyone has taught me that I should do a right film, and that it was hard to do. If you fail, you won't make another film. And I spent so many years trying to make a right film that I thought, now I'll make the film that I would really like, and influenced by my own idols, more like auteur and art house movies. So I just tried to feel what would be a funny way to work with the media. So I wanted a great story and good characters, but I also wanted that cinema could be more like aesthetics and have some, art house elements, film art house elements to it. So in the beginning, I just wanted, it was a bit of in Denmark we made a lot of, naturalistic films, and somehow I think the media is small. You can tell other kind of stories, and you can play with people's imagination more. I come from the theater, I'm an actor originally, and every time I did a play, we played much more we challenge people more. I mean, then you can be in a black box and you can draw something on the floor and suddenly you're in Africa, and film doesn't do that so much. It's very like one-to-one. So I had a lot of inspiration from the theater to say that if people go to the cinema, they shouldn't just lean back and have a good story, they should also use their own imagination. So, yeah.
Questions from the audience?
How long did the process take from your dream to the film becoming full?
It took a long time. Also more than I think a film should take. It took like 4 years. I had the dream. It was very difficult to write the script. I had like several versions of the story. It was a thriller, it was a comedy, it was a porno movie. It was like every stupid kind of stupid things. And then in the end, I realized that this was actually based on a dream. So I had to be truthful to the dream and actually make the story very simple. And then after the script was done, we had a lot of difficulties getting it into shootings. One of the actors had an accident, so we had to wait 7 months for her to get I had to replace the cast, I had to replace the crew, and then we shot it in 20 days. We only had 20 days because we had no money. And then we got finished in 2015, and no one wanted to touch the movie. It was in the refrigerator. It was in my home for like a year before something happened. I just kept pushing and trying to convince people that they should show the movie, and then it was released last year in 5 cinemas, and after that it got a quite big success at festivals and good reviews. So I think it's a challenge, especially in my country. I don't know how it is in Finland, but it's a challenge to make films that are a bit different. You just have to. Films has become such a mainstream media, and I think that's sad. You can still tell very universal, touching stories, but done in a more original way. So from the idea to the finished film until it was released, it took like 5 years. So it was a hard travel.
Even though you had these great big actors, you did have trouble with funding.
Yes. Yes, because no one thought that anyone would see a film that is like strange or, and I don't know why, I don't know the answer, but they called it like a really art house film. But I don't think it is. I think it's a theme that is very universal. But yeah, the access didn't help that. No, it didn't. Strange enough.
Ja, hello.
Hej.
Må jeg tage det på dansk?
Ja, men jeg ved ikke, om folk forstår det.
Nej, det er lige meget for mig. Men har du tænkt... Okay, I will take it in English. Have you thought of, because you spoke about art house, to put it on a theater somewhere in Denmark or...
No, I know, maybe you could. He asking if I should play this on a theater, this story, and I tried to tell it the other way around. Could I use some elements from the theater, but use it in a cinematic way? Maybe if someone wants to do it in a theater, I think it would be very different, but it plays also with a lot of cinematic ideas. So at theater, I think it would be told in a very different way. So I never thought about that. Feel free if you want to use it.
Yeah, I will contact.
Yes, okay.
Have you directed before?
I have directed 3 short movies. I've always been dreaming of becoming a director, so parallel to my career as an actor, I just spent all my time writing films or directing. So 3 short movies, and then I've just done another feature.
Have you directed in theater?
No, but I'm about to.
Okay.
In this April, but I've been writing a lot for theater.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I liked it because it didn't have the attempt to explain the whole thing. Maybe this is since you're coming from theater, it left more room for interpretation. And what is the motive of? Because I kept thinking about Oedipus, the Greek conflict, the son being attracted to the mother and the father getting jealous about that. Was that something that happened in your mind, or what role did it play?
Well, the first part of your question is, I agree that it's very subtle in a way. There's a tendency in films to explain everything and to say how you feel in dialogue, and I tried to work more with spaces than with dialogue. That how can the rooms in the film tell something about the conditions and the feelings in the characters. And then I know that there are some themes in the movie that is like Oedipus complex, and I didn't really think about it, but we cut out some scenes that is really Oedipus. Like there was a sex scene between the mother and the son that didn't work at all, and it's good that we took that out. I'm sorry we made it. I don't know, but the main thing for me was not to tell a sexual story about them, but more about how can you turn your back to your children? I mean, can you just to reveal to live your own life, and can you just say goodbye to your children after you become parents? And I think that's a difficult thing, and this is a way for the mother to express that she misses her son and that she has to be with him in any forms, and if she can't be her mother, then she will be his wife. She just wants to. She's still 52 inside. Remember, this is just her body that is young, but this is also something that is over in her life. I think there is some love and sexuality between mothers and sons, or mothers and daughters, but that is something that is given from nature. So I didn't regard it as a sexual thing. Yes?
Considering the struggle with funding, do you think it was more dependent on the surrealism style in the concept of
Well-
Denmark or the Oedipal storyline?
No, everyone liked the movie a lot. Everyone who had the power to send it out liked it, but they say there's no audience for this. And in Denmark, people think a lot about the market. Can we sell tickets? And if they don't think you can sell like 100,000 tickets, they won't put it to the cinema, which is a big, big problem, because we just have to, I mean, I don't think that every film should be seen by a lot of people. I mean, why? I know it's expensive, but you also have obligation to develop the language of film, and you have small art house cinemas in every country. So, but you know, they just think that if we should put money on this, we should also have our money back. So it was more a discussion of can we sell this or not, and they think it was too small. But then we went to the United States with this, and they had the total opposite opinion, and everyone liked it there. So maybe it's also a matter of culture. Or habits.
Firstly, thank you.
Yes,
It's a wonderful movie.
thank you.
Where in the world has this been shown? Like in US and here, where else?
It's been to a lot of festivals all over Europe and US, but it's only been shown in cinemas in Switzerland and Denmark, and then it's gone out on digital medias in many countries. Like you can find it on iTunes or Blockbuster or I don't know, other, Apple TV. So, it has not been a worldwide cinema success, but I think it's because they maybe didn't fight enough for it. I don't know.
They should.
Yeah.
First of all, I would also like to say that great work, so keep it up.
Thank you.
And on the lighter side, I would like to ask, what did your parents think about the film?
This is getting very private. They didn't see it until the premiere last year, and that was, so I was developing the film, and we shot the film, and everyone else saw the film, and I didn't want them to see it because I want them to see it on a screen. So they waited a long time, but they were very nervous because my parents are not like this at all, but I asked them a lot of questions, and I used many elements from their life in this. I looked at their photos, old photos, and the set design is pretty much how their home looked like when I was a child. They have a rabbit too, and so I used a lot of that. But when they saw the movie, they were really just touched by it and liked it a lot, and were relieved that this was not a story about them. So, but I think that some of the crises they had when I moved away from home, and this is what the film is really about. How do you get on with your life when you spent the last 20 years building a home and taking care of the child and forgot the focus of yourself and your relationship? I know that they've been in this crisis, so, and that's a tabooish thing for many, many people, that you can, you meet, you fall in love, you have a great life, then the child comes and it sucks all love out of you, and you get so, practical, and suddenly the child doesn't want you anymore. And then you're there alone, and you're maybe just 50, and you have to be young again in a way. So the film is very much about that. How do you get on with your life? And I think they could relate to that, and they're still together, so maybe the film helped them stay together.
Was it easy to find the cast for this film?
Yes and no. As I said, there was an accident, but I casted Bodil Jørgensen. She's played the lead, the woman, and her niece. It's her niece. That's why they look a bit and talk a bit like each other. But then Bodil fell off a tractor, like a big car in a children's movie, and she almost died. It was really terrible, but she didn't die. But I waited until she was fixed. Every bone in her body was broken. But that meant that I had to replace all others. So the male lead, Søren Malling, was a very famous Danish actor. He was just in at the last moment. And the cinematographer and everyone was replaced. But now I feel I'm lucky because I couldn't imagine a better cast than this and the better crew than this. So I was lucky that she fell off the tractor in a way. Yes?
How is it for you as an actor to become a director and see other people act, and you can see them the film in your head and you're like, oh, not that way or something?
I think it's acting and directing is for me two very different things. I learned something, of course, of being an actor, but that is more like how do you talk to actors? What environment do you create? You have to have a good chemistry, and you can talk differently to most actors. You can't talk the same way. I mean, the way I directed the professional actors was completely different the way I directed the young actors, because they was never been in a front of camera before. So it's nothing about method, but of course I was thinking, how do I like directors talking and directing me? But when that is said, I don't think that there's anything you can compare. Being director is also about so many other things than directing actors. It's also about have a vision and rely on that there's other way to tell the story than just the actors. It's also the lighting, the story, the camera. So it's a big, huge job where you have responsibility for everything. Whereas an actor, you just have to feel like a certain part of it. But I'm very lucky that I work with a lot of directors because I've been in movies and theater. And so I was just trying to think, what do I like? What kind of way of talking do I like? Yeah. So it was very easy for me, actually. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
More questions?
I'm just curious, have you had any weird dreams lately?
Yes, but I won't tell them. I stopped dreaming. No, I have, sometimes I don't dream, and other times I have weird dreams and horrifying dreams and realistic dreams, and I think there is a great inspiration in dreams because it's another kind of logic. And while we dream, we think it's very obvious and very logical, but when we wake up, we think it's weird. But it's only when we wake up. It's not when we dream that we think, oh, what's happening? I don't have it like that. So I wanted people to, when they saw this film, to accept the surrealistic elements, and maybe afterwards they could say, oh, this was a kind of weird, but especially when the scene in the kitchen where the two guys are hugging and he misses his father. I mean, it's a scene with two boys, and he's 19, and Elliot, who plays the young kid, is about 25, but still it's father and son, so it's a construction and it's dreamlike, but it's still emotions. So I was working on how do you accept that the dream feels realistic. But yeah, I have not any other ideas, dream ideas for films, not recently, no. Yes?
Have you been able to see any other films in these festivals?
No, because I wanted to explore Helsinki, so I got lost today behind the stone church, and I spent the whole day trying to find back. But it's such a beautiful city, really. But I'm coming back on the 1st of November because the film is nominated for the Nordic Council Prize, so there's a big ceremony, so I will spend 3 days.
I would ask, what are you working on now? Not anything based on a dream, but currently directing something? Yeah, I just finished my second feature, which is definitely the opposite of a dream. It's called A Horrible Woman. And it's, yeah, it's a funny film, but it's about, I think sometimes that women can be very, very mean to men in a relationship. And the film is seen from the male's perspective, how horrible a woman can be to him. And it just starts with two people meeting, and he's just feeling great and so secure in life. And then suddenly, slowly, she pulls him down and, just manipulates him. And in the end, he's totally castrated and just a unhappy, pale shadow of himself. So it's a portrait, a critical portrait of men and women and what we do to each other in relationships. And it's a funny tragedy in a way. But it's made in 16 days with handheld camera and just very rock and roll. So it's very different from this one. Okay, hopefully we'll see that over
Yeah,
next
I
year.
hope so.
Any final questions from the audience? Still processing?
You're welcome.
Okay, well, thank you, Christian Tafdrup.
Oh yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.